Welcome to the World Builders Guild. This is going to be part 5 of my World Building 101 series. We're going to continue where we left off last time, talking about the 3 major events that I laid out that I wanted to revisit, which would be the chasm in the water, this ruined kingdom in the desert area, and then the glowing land over here. And so to do that, what I want to talk about is a timeline. How I like to do my world building when I'm focusing on major events. I'll start with dividing my timeline into 3 sections. There's a past, a present, and then an event, some major event that has its own section of time. So we'll have past, present, and event. And right now, I need to decide if I want my event between these 3 things to just be like one big event or multiple small events that led to some reason that the timeline would start at 0. And so what I'm going to say is these 3 things all happened during a war. A major war between humanoids and gods. And each of these 3 world-scarred events were caused by that. So my event is a war between humans and gods. Next, I need to decide how much is known about the past prior to the event and the event itself. How accurate is the history? And then the present day history can come later. So I want my history to start towards the end of the event. So I'm going to say event first half and event second half. So the past and the first half of the event are going to be more guesses with what people know than very accurate. There'll be no books. If they find an account of this time, it's going to be special. It's going to stand out as shedding light on past history of the world. Special knowledge. Not much is known. And so these 3 world-scarring events are going to all happen in the second half of the event, where it's winding down towards a conclusion. So this is the part we're going to flesh out today, is the second half of my event. And I'm going to go ahead and name it, let's see. For right now, I'm going to call it the Chaos Wars. Chaos Wars. So what I'm thinking is each of these places are left this way because the god died there. So if this was where the god of light died. God of light died in the glowing land. Who killed him and how? How are humanoids able to rival the gods? So I'm a fan of dragons. So I'm going to say for the whole event, humans bonded with the dragons in order to defeat the gods that they felt did not deserve to be in place. Why the gods don't deserve to be in place at this moment doesn't matter. We'll address that with the past knowledge, because this past knowledge is what would have angered humanoids so much that they want to defeat the gods and take their place. So, who killed the god of light? We'll say it was a noble human riding a gold dragon slayed the god. This human then was able to take his place. So why does the land glow? We'll say the release of so much energy infused the crystals in the area and caused them to begin to glow. This also, the death of the god of light here also left the land in perpetual darkness. This darkness led to the evolution of bioluminescent plants and animals here. So the only light here is provided by the crystals themselves. The only light here is radiated from the crystals themselves. So that addresses some of the story of this land. Now, let us go look at what happened to this kingdom. Why is so much of it destroyed? We'll say the god of earth and stone was challenged by 5 gnomes here. 5 gnomes in the desert kingdom. Each gnome had a set part of the plan to take out the god. One of the gnomes betrayed the others in an attempt to take all the power for himself. We'll say he did this upon successful. Didn't mean to type that there. Upon successful completion of this task, one of the gnomes betrayed the others in an attempt to take all the power for himself. This led to the War of the Five Gnomes, which destroyed the kingdom. The 4 gnomes were to best the betrayer and banished him to the Underdark. The god of the okay, so that would have been that one. That kind of explains what happened there. So this rift in the ground. Okay. The god of time was captured trying to flee towards the Lost Island. On his transport ship back to the mainland, he was slain he was able to turn back time and undo this event, but one of the orcs on board was also taken back. The orc then killed the god during the time reversal, causing the two timelines to collide. This caused a massive shockwave that reverberated across the world, causing massive damages to all. This event also left the world permanently scarred. So I think at this point, the remaining gods banded together and tried to reset the world by. So you want to plan for your, in my case, your campaign. In a writer's case, your story. And so what I'm trying to determine here is a major plot device for the future. Because whatever the gods were trying to reset the world by, in the future, someone, your villain, will be trying to do the same thing. So what I put down really determines the shape of a campaign or a story. So while this other stuff can be worked in, this can be just passive knowledge. It's just there. The gods tried this one time, it didn't work. Or it can be the gods tried and failed, but this person thinks they can. So what could they be trying to do to reset the world? We'll say destabilizing the ley lines of magic. So what I've done here is also determine part of how magic will work in my campaign. And I mean, D&D has a set system, but flavor-wise, I can determine how that works, more or less, in my campaign. Their attempt was interrupted by the new god of light and only resulted in increasing the devastation already caused by the time shift. This resulted in the world being not the world, in the populations of the world being almost wiped out and having to rebuild. This also resulted in the loss of much past knowledge. So what I do inside my event, if I am not going to have things, if past knowledge is going to be really hard to come by, something in the event should wipe out reasons you should have past knowledge. And in my case, it's a global scale catastrophe, which sets the stage for the gods not necessarily all agreeing. Humanoids can become gods by slaying them. The four gnomes and the betrayer. That's a whole campaign in of itself. That's a whole story in and of itself. The rift in time could be a whole story. You could go back to the past or to the Chaos Wars, and that could be a whole thing. And so what I wanted to do with each of these points is self-contained campaigns, self-contained stories, self-contained books, however you want to do it. So you could go to the glowing land and you could have a whole story there about why it's like that and if there's a way to restore light. If restoring light would even be good. The Desert Kingdom. Desert Kingdom. You could go there. The Betrayer Gnome could be influencing people to try and take down the gnomes that defeated him. They would now be gods following the rules I established in the first one. And then the Rift Gnome, you could go back and those. So if you do these in order, you know, you start with none of this. They're exposed to just some story. We'll get to that later. That moves them along into a plot of potential world destruction. But to figure this part, to get down to this last part, the world destruction part, they would have to go back up here. Go investigate the glowing lands for some reason. During here, they learn about how this person became a god. They learn about all these things. Then they travel here to try and figure out more history. More of what the villain is trying to do. So they learn about the Betrayer Gnome, and maybe he's influencing people trying to take over this one section. Maybe he's working with the villain. Maybe he is the villain and they just don't know it yet. Then, for some reason, they go check out the Rift. The Rift sends them back in time. They experience the first parts of the Chaos Wars and learn some past knowledge as to why they were trying to replace the gods. And in this point, they need to learn what the gods were doing. How they were going to wipe out the world and reset it. Or they just need to learn that the gods were doing that. Then they come back. Then they learn that the villain is trying to do the same thing. So your players or your characters in your book begin making this connection and begin working against the villain on destabilizing magical ley lines. But they know if they interrupt it, it's going to cause devastation. So they have to try and stop him before he gets to that point. And if he succeeds, then they failed. The world's reset, and that's that. If they succeed completely, the world is fine. And now in a book, you've got your choice to make. In a campaign setting, I think it's a good idea to have what if the players don't succeed all the way? Then this happens, and you can tell a new story. Or you can continue your story if you don't want it to end in this new light. The fact that they did not succeed completely and it caused this to happen. And now they're trying to fix the thing that they caused because they failed. Which is good for a book. It's good for a story to have your characters fail. But with this, I believe we're going to stop here. Next time we'll flesh out some of the last two kingdoms. And then we're going to move into World Anvil for recording our information more concisely and fleshing out more of the specific details and beginning to create a campaign, a story from what I established as my world. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment below. I still need name suggestions from last time and this time and future times. So please feel free to suggest places, people, event names, country names, any names you can think of. I will benefit greatly from that. You can find a link to a Discord where you can just come chat with us down below. There's also links to a Facebook group and Twitter if you want to use those. I'm mostly active on the Discord. Thanks for coming by, and I'll talk to you next time.